I never imagined I'd be the one calling the cops on my own front lawn, but there I was, heart-pounding, watching two patrol cars roll in my driveway. A woman in a pale blue cardigan, her face twisted with righteous fury, stood on my grass, pointing at me like I was some kind of criminal. "He's trespassing," she bellowed, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I want him out of here, saw." Her name was Linda Thompson, though I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that this stranger was screaming on my property, claiming it wasn't mine at all. The officers stepped out of their cars, moving cautiously, like they were trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't quite fit. One of them, a tall guy with a calm demeanor, asked for my ID. I reached for my wallet, hand steady despite the absurdity of it all, and handed over my driver's license. "I just moved in last month," I said, keeping my voice even. "This is my house. I don't know who this woman is or why she thinks I'm trespassing." Linda's face turned a shade of red that could have rivaled a summer sunset. "That's nonsense," she snapped, arms crossed tight across her chest. "I'm the owner's wife. My husband and I have owned this place for years. This man's lying through his teeth." The second officer, a shorter guy with a clipboard, radioed in my info while his partner tried to keep things from boiling over. I stood there, half amused, half bewildered, but completely sure of one thing. The truth was on my side. A few minutes later, the radio crackled and the tall officer's expression shifted. He turned to Linda, his voice firm. "Ma'am, county records show this property was purchased by this gentleman 5 weeks ago. He's the legal owner." The color drained from Linda's face like someone had pulled a plug. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again, but no words came out. It was like watching a balloon deflate in real time. Let me back up a bit. This house, this modest 3-bedroom in a quiet suburban neighborhood, was my dream. I'd spent nearly a decade scraping together every spare dollar, living in cramped apartments, skipping vacations, all to call a place like this my own. It wasn't a mansion, just a cozy home with neat lawns and friendly neighbors. Well, some mostly friendly. The neighborhood had a homeowners association, which I was fine with. I liked the idea of a community that cared about keeping things nice. What I didn't expect was Linda. She introduced herself on my second day, striding up to my door with a thick binder and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Mrs. Thompson, president of the Green Meadows HOA," she said, her tone clipped and official. She handed me a stack of rules thicker than a phone book. "No trash cans Cybele from a street. Lawns mowed weekly. No overnight street parking." Standard stuff, I thought. I thanked her, promised to read it, and figured that was that. It wasn't. 3 days later, while I was unloading a couch from a rental truck at 4:30 on a Friday, Linda materialized out of nowhere. "Deliveries are only allowed between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on weekdays," she said, her nose practically in the air. I pointed out it was still within the allowed time, and she huffed, muttering about new people not understanding how things worked before stalking off. Then came the notes. One about my grass being a 1/4 inch too long. Another about my garden hose being the wrong shade of green. She even banged on my door at 8 a.m. to lecture me about vying my porch light on overnight, citing some obscure HOA rule about wasteful energy use. I stayed polite, made small fixes when they made sense, and held my ground when they didn't. But then things got weird. Linda started questioning my right to be in my own house. "I knew the Petersons well," she said one afternoon, referring to the pre-VYS owners. Her tone dripped with suspicion. "They never mentioned selling to someone like you saw." The way she said it made my skin crawl, but I kept my cool. "The sale was legit," I told her. "Everything's in order." She narrowed her eyes. "I'd like to see your lease agreement." I blinked. "I don't have a lease." I saw the house. She laughed a sharp, disbelieving sound. "That's impossible. The Petersons would have told me." "You're lying." Before I could say another word, she turned and marched away. After that, it was like she'd declared war. I'd catch her peering over my fence while I grilled burgers in the backyard. She'd snap photos of me getting my mail or sitting on my porch. Once I saw her rifling through my trash bins on collection day, like she was hunting for proof I didn't belong. When I called her out, she claimed she was conducting an HOA inspection and had every right to be there. Then came the lettering official Green Meadows HOA letterhead, signed by Linda, accusing me of unauthorized occupancy. I called the board immediately, and a flustered member admitted Linda had sent it without their approval. They promised to handle it. I thought that was the end. I was dead wrong. I had to leave town for a 3-day work trip. I locked up tight, asked a neighbor to grab my mail, and headed out. When I got back late Sunday night, exhausted and CRAVY in my own bed, I found something that made my stomach drop. My key wouldn't work in the front door. I tried again, then again, my hands shaking as the truth hit me. Someone had changed the locks. Taped to the door was a notice. Property under HOA custody. Owner's spouse has reclaimed residence. Contact Green Meadows HOA. I stood there, dumbfounded, anger bubbling up. This wasn't just harassment, it was saw criminal saw. Thank God, I'd hidden a spare key in the backyard. I let myself in through the back door, relieved to find nothing stolen or disturbed, but the violation left me furious. I called the non-emergency police line, documented everything, and planned to file a report in the morning. But at 7 a.m., I heard someone fumbling with my front door. I peeked through the peephole and saw Linda, a key in her hand, trying to get in. My blood boiled. I yanked the door open, and she jumped, dropping the key with a clatter. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded. Her shock morphed into outrage. "How did Saw get in here? This property is under HOA management." "This is my house," I shot back. "I own it. You changed my locks illegally, and now you're trying to break in. That's a crime." Linda's face twisted. You saw the one breaking and entering. The Petersons own this house. Mrs. Peterson's a close friend, and she asked me to watch it while she's away. You're trespassing, and I'm calling the police. She whipped out her phone, dialed 911, and put on a performance that could have won an Oscar. "There's an intruder in my friend's house," she cried, her voice trembling with fake fear. "He's threatening me, and I'm scared for my safety." She gave my address, shooting me a smug look that made my fists clench. "You're making a huge mistake," I said, forcing myself to stay calm. "I have all the proof I own this place." "We'll see," she sneered. The police arrived within minutes, and Linda launched into her story, painting me as a squatter who'd broken in. "I'm the owner's wife," she declared, hands on her hips. The officers turned to me. "Sir, do you have ID or proof of residence?" I nodded, grabbed my driver's license, deed, and closing papers from my office, and handed them over. The tall officer scanned them, his brow furrowing. "These look legit," he said. "County records confirm you bought this house from the Petersons 5 weeks ago." Linda's smugness faltered, but she doubled down. "Those are fake. I talked to Mrs. Peterson last week." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, we'll need your ID and proof of your connection to the Petersons." As they ran a check, Linda kept insisting it was all a mistake. The second officer returned from his car, his face serious. "County records confirm the sale. The Petersons don't own this property anymore." He turned to Linda. "Ma'am, your ID, please." She handed it over reluctantly, and the officer's eyes narrowed. "Mrs. Thompson, your address is 3 blocks away. You're not related to the Petersons, are you?" Linda stammered. "Well, no, but we're close friends. They'd have told me if they sold." The officer wasn't HOA-ing it. "You called 911 claiming to be the owner's wife and reported an intruder. That's serious. And the homeowner says his locks were changed without permission. How'd you get a key?" Linda's face went white. She pulled out the key she dropped, her hands trembling. "The Petersons gave it to me years ago for emergencies. I was just protecting the neighborhood." The officer's voice was ice cold. Changing locks on someone else's property and trying to enter without permission isn't protecting anything. It's illegal. He exchanged a look with his partner. "Mrs. Thompson, turn around and place your hands behind your back." Linda's jaw dropped. "You can't be serious. I'm placing you under arrest for criminal trespassing, attempted unlawful entry, and filing a false police report," the officer said, pulling out handcuffs. "You have the right to remain silent." I stood on my porch, watching in disbelief as Linda was cuffed, still shrieking about misunderstandings. Neighbors started poking their heads out, some shocked, others smirking like they'd been waiting for this day. The officer approached me after loading Linda into the patrol car. "Sir, you'll need to give a statement at the station. Based on your documents and what we've seen, Mrs. Thompson's facing serious charges. You might want a restraining order." As the police drove off, neighbors swarmed over, offering sympathy and relief. Turns out, Linda had been the neighborhood tyrant for years, using her HOA power to nitpick and bully everyone. No one had ever challenged her like this. The investigation dug up the rest. Linda had a spare key from the Petersons, who'd forgotten about it when they moved. She'd hired a locksmith, posing as the homeowner, to change my locks. She was charged with criminal trespassing, attempted breaking and entering, filing a false police report, and impersonation with intent to defraud. At her arraignment, the judge set bail at $20,000 and barred her from contacting me. She faced up to 2 years in prison and hefty fines. The look on her face, in court pure shock that her actions had consequences, was unforgettable. For once, her self-righteous attitude couldn't save her. So what do you think? Was Linda just a nosy neighbor who went too far? Or was she deliberately trying to sabotage me? Should I have confronted her sooner? Or was staying calm the right move? And what would Saw You Saw do if someone tried to claim Saw You Saw home? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this story got your blood pumping. And subscribe for more wild tales like this one.